Hello, African Confessions. I am back with another episode. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and the message reads like this. Hello, how are you? I am a single lady who is aged 35 years. I have something that is troubling me in my mind. So, I was a lesbian before I gave my life to Jesus. And when I was 17 years old at that time, I started dating girls, and mostly I loved older girls than I was, sugar mummies, and I was paid for this job. This was when I was 23. And by the time that I had reached 23, I was dating a lot of rich women. And when my parents found out that I was dating a lot of these sugar mummies, then they kicked me out of their house. They rejected me. And I went wild because at that time there was this other woman that I was dating. She was an older woman and she used to take a lot of drugs. And when I told her that my mom had kicked me out of my house, she said that it is fine, I can come and stay with her. But when I was staying with her, most of the nights when me and her will be busy in bed, first she would ask me if I wanted to join her, but most times I would refuse. But because I was staying with her a little bit here and a little bit there, I became addicted to drugs. But I want to thank God that after I had broken up with that woman, the next lady that I was dating, she didn't like me taking drugs. So she said that if you love me, you have to go to rehab first. When that lady took me to rehab, it was not a nice place. My body was in pain, but because of love, I just forced myself. When I was 26 years old, that is when I came back home. This was after that lady who had forced me to go into rehab. She gave me a heartbreak. This was after I had found out that the woman that had forced me to go into rehab, at that time when she was dating me, her partner was out of the country. When her partner returned back into the country, that is when one night she just confessed to me and she said, I am sorry. I love you, but we cannot continue with this relationship because I am already engaged. And if my partner were to find you here, I'll be in trouble. And she was actually planning to marry her wife. When that woman dumped me, I didn't have anywhere to go. I even slept on the street for a few days. After that, I met another woman whom I dated, but in the end, someone told my mom that your child is suffering. She's moving from one place to another. That is when my mother called me back home. When my mother called me back home, they started forcing me, even though I had tried to tell them that this thing that I am feeling in my blood is not something that I learned to feel. Ever since I can remember, these feelings have always been here. But my parents were one of those people who believed that if you are a lesbian, then it means that you are under the possession of a demon. So no matter how hard I tried to tell my parents that these things that I was feeling for other women, I didn't ask for it, but I was just born like that. Even when I was still in high school, I used to have feelings, but not towards other boys, but towards other girls. But whenever I would try to tell my mother that even if she were to disown me, these feelings that I had, all of these things that were happening to me, there was no way I could change it. I just wanted to be with a woman. But my mom, since she was a Christian, she would force me to pray. But my mom, she believed that if we were to pray, I was going to change. Then I'll start to have feelings towards men. But that thing didn't change at all. There were many days when my mom, when we would wake up in the morning, she will say that today you are not going to eat because you and we want to fast so that this demon can leave you. I fasted for so many days. I fasted till I grew thin. But I kept on telling my mother that no matter what you do, this thing, I don't think it is because of demon possession, but it is the way that I was created. But whenever I would try to explain myself to my mother, she will get more angry with me. The people in our community didn't understand if I was a lesbian or not. I still remember that there was one day when my mother told me that I had to look for a boyfriend in the community so that people can stop suspecting that I was a lesbian, but I refused. I said, Mom, if you want to kick me out of your house, then it is fine. I cannot pretend to be someone that I cannot be. This is the way that God created me. Growing up as a family, we used to go to this certain church, but when I moved in back with my mom, that time when I was 26 years old, that is when I found out that my mom, she was now going to a different church. She never gave me a simple explanation. The next Sunday, after I had moved in back with my mom, she forced me to go and attend a church service with her. So then we were told that we had to prepare because there was this so-called man of God who was going to come, but from outside of the country. We were told that the man who was going to come and visit us, he was a true man of God. So we prepared. And that was the time that my mom was forcing me to fast each and every day. Sometimes I would feel like I am about to faint. But whenever I would tell my mom that I feel like I am about to faint, maybe health-wise, I don't think that you should make me fast like this. But my mom told me that the more that I fasted, the more that my flesh will get weaker and my spiritual person will get stronger. So me and my mother, we fasted a lot whilst we were waiting for that man of God who was going to come and visit her assembly, who was coming from outside of the country. So we went and we attended that church service. Then it was prophecy time. All of a sudden, that man of God picked me when I was in the crowd, and he said that I needed to be delivered. My heart started beating so fast because how could he have picked me out from the crowd like that? I went into the front. Then he started praying for me. I thought that finally maybe my mom, everything that she was telling me, these things that I was under the possession of a demon, maybe it was true. When I went to the front, that so-called man of God, he started to pray for me. But I didn't know that this prophet was just a fake man of God. And I suffered a lot because of this fake prophet. So that prophet said that I want you around each and every time, that you'll be under the covering. And it was an honor because it was a big church. My mother was so happy. Quickly we went. Then I had to apply for my passport because he said that when he was returning back to his country, he wanted me to work under his supervision. When my passport came out, he had already traveled back to his country. So I was joined by other fellow church members. Then we went to the headquarters of our church. I went there and I was working with that prophet until I was promoted. But let me say that it was just a quick promotion because within weeks he told me that I was the right candidate to be his personal assistant. Wherever he would go, I would go. When I was with him, that is when I started to notice a lot of very funny behavior. In the first few weeks, when I was his personal assistant, he tried to hide most of his secrets. Like he was someone who drank a lot of beer whenever he would be at the hotel. What he used to do is that he had this other bodyguard of his. That man, he was the one who used to bring in the alcohol for him. Then one day I was just in his car. That is when I found out that there was a case of beer bottles. Then there was a crusade which he was going to minister, and this crusade was outside of the country. So we went as his hosting team. We went to that crusade. That's where he booked a hotel. Then he said that since you are my personal assistant, I am going to book a room that is close to me so that if I need anything, this man, I was the one who used to have his phone around. Most of the times, I would even answer other people on his WhatsApp, pretending as if I was the prophet. to me, this was not okay because this was lying. Whenever I told him that I am supposed to tell all of these people that are trying to speak with you via WhatsApp, I have to tell them the truth that I am your personal assistant. But he said, no, you don't have to tell anyone that it is not me, because these people, they want to speak with me. If they know that you are my personal assistant, then what is the reason of them looking for me? So this man, he also has his own channel, and a lot of people, they go there and watch his videos, even though I am afraid to mention his name. When I was using his WhatsApp, I saw that a lot of ladies, they used to come to his WhatsApp, and most of them, it looked like they just wanted to date this man. But whenever I would tell him that I do not understand what this lady wants from you, you will say, send that number to my other private number. He had another phone, and I don't know what he used to do on his other private number. So at that time, when we had traveled to a certain country where there was a crusade, he booked a room that was so close to the room that he was booked into. Then the rest of his hosting team, they were booked on another floor. On that floor, it was me, his bodyguard, and the prophet. When we arrived at the hotel, I went to my room, then he went to his room because he said that he didn't want to be disturbed. He switched off all of his phone and his laptops, then he gave them to me, and he said, here and there, I just want you to update on his Facebook page. He said that he wanted to speak with God. Now, my brother, if anyone mentions the name of God, I get so scared, because some people, you will never know what kind of a God they will be talking about. Early in the morning, the crusade started, but this man, whenever he was supposed to preach, he would always arrive at that place where he was supposed to minister a little bit late. So me and him and his bodyguard, we stayed at the hotel whilst the hosting team had gone to prepare a place for him. This is what he used to tell the hosting team. Whenever we were supposed to go somewhere, he will send them first and he will say, you are supposed to go and prepare a place for me. This was so weird. When it was around 3 p.m., that is when he called his bodyguard, and he told his bodyguard to go and wait for us in the car. He called me into his hotel room. He used to do this all the times. Sometimes when I would enter into the room that you would be in, I would have to cover my eyes, because sometimes he would call you and you will find out that he will just be naked, just like that. Most of the times when he would call you into the room that you will be in, you'll just be having a boxer short. On that day, he was having a boxer short when he called me into his room. Like always, I looked aside. Then he said, please, can you find something proper for me to wear? I started to look for a suit that could match the occasion. After finding the suit that matched the occasion, I handed it to him. Then he said, do not go anywhere, just sit on the bed. This didn't suit well with me. Sitting on the bed that the man of God used to sleeping on the bed that the man of God had slept in was not okay. And this man, he was a married man, but I was afraid of the power of God. So I slept, because he told me that if you sit on that bed, God's blessings are going to rain from the heavens and they will cure you. And this thing of God curing me, he used to say it every time when I was with him. Whenever I would speak with him, he would just say, one day God is going to cure you. It was like being a lesbian was more like a disease to him. So when he said God is going to cure you today, I thought that maybe this whole thing of me being a lesbian, indeed it was a disease that God wanted to cure me from. So I sat and I relaxed on that bed. He just looked at me and he smiled. We went to that crusade. Brother Nashi, after the service, we went back to the hotel. Then I went to my hotel room which I was booked into. When I got into the bathroom to take a shower, that is when I remembered that I had not locked the door. So I stepped out of the bathroom. I was just naked. That is when I saw the prophet. He had followed me into my hotel room. He just looked at me from the top of my head down to my toes. I felt ashamed. Then I rushed back to the bathroom because I wanted to grab something to wear. When I rushed back to the bathroom, suddenly he had followed me into that bathroom. Then he said, "Your body is so beautiful. I am feeling so hot. Please, can I just give you a massage?" I felt so embarrassed and I wanted to refuse. And he said, "You cannot refuse, for these are the fruits and these are the blessings if you go around helping and doing the work of God. Don't you know that the man that is standing before you has been sent by God to cure you?" Then he told me that he wanted to give me a massage. So that so-called prophet of God, he took me from the bathroom. Then he made me to lie on the couch. He started touching me. I never enjoyed it. As he was touching me, he said, "Just relax, I'll be back." But when I looked at him, I saw that his manhood had shown signs that it was erect. So I thought that he was just embarrassed, and if he was going to walk out of my hotel room, he would not come back. But he rushed out of that room. Then he came back before I could even gather the strength to lock the door. When he came back, I saw that on the other hand, he was holding a small bottle that looked more like lotion. Then on the other hand, he was holding a towel. You know those small soft towels that are used by women to wipe themselves after they've had sexual intercourse. When he came back into the room, he was holding those things. Then he started praying. And when he was praying, he told me to kneel down. Then he started praying. He prayed and he prayed. Then he told me not to rise up from that place where I was kneeling. He went back to his room. But after he had walked out of my hotel room, I had this strange feeling in my body, a kind of a feeling that I had never had in my life, something that I had longed for before, because I just wanted to know what it felt like to have feelings for a man. And in that moment, that is what I was feeling. When he came back, he was holding 2 glasses of wine. Then he gave me 1 glass. Then he was drinking the other one. I didn't want to drink because I was so nervous and I was ashamed, because all along I was just naked. I had tried to wrap myself with a towel, but he just removed that towel from my body. So I was just kneeling there. Then he told me to drink the wine. When I finished off the wine that was inside that glass, everything just went blurry. I just felt so dizzy. After that, I woke up and I was in his bed, meaning that he had slept with me throughout the night. The next day when I woke up, he just gave me a lot of instructions. He told me that you have to rush somewhere. I want you to do this. And he just pretended as if me and him, we didn't have any sexual intercourse. I got up from the bed. Then I walked out of his hotel room. I went back into my room. Then I started bathing. The whole day I was so busy, I never got the chance to be near him. At night, we went back to that crusade. I had never seen what I had witnessed on that day, because on that day, a lot of miracles happened and the whole place seemed like it was filled with the Holy Spirit. But what troubled me is how could the Holy Spirit use a man that had just abused his own personal assistant throughout the night, a man who was drinking alcohol. After that powerful crusade, we went back to the country where our church has its headquarters. I knew that this was now a regular thing. If I was not on my periods and if it was on a Sunday, I knew that I had to go and book a room, because he had already given me a lot of credit cards that I was supposed to use. So I would go and book a room either at a guest house or at a hotel. But this man, he fancied expensive hotels more than guest houses. most of the times, if it was on a Sunday, I would wake up around 4 a.m. Then I will bath, then I will drive either to a local hotel or a guest house. Then I'll book a room and I will tell him that I am booked in such and such a room. Then he would come. Most of the times, that man of God, he would come around 6 a.m. Then he would have sexual intercourse with me. And whenever he would come into that room that I'll be booked into, he will be having his Bible. And from that guest house that we would be booked in, he would just drive straight to church. Sometimes I'll be the one to drive him to church. But whenever we would go to church, you'll be sitting at the back, then I'll be driving him so that people cannot see what will be going on, so that people cannot suspect. Everyone knew that I was his personal assistant. I don't know what he used to tell his wife, that each and every Sunday morning he has to go out early in the morning, then they will meet and join each other at the church service. Maybe his wife knows all of these rituals. So when that guy was dating me, I cannot say that I was dating him, because he was just forcing me. Whenever he would have intercourse with me, my body had to react, but deep down I didn't have any feelings for him. So whenever he would see that down there I'll be wet, he will say, "Can you see that now you have feelings for men?" But it was just that when someone touches your body will just react. And if you are a woman, that is a sign that your body is preparing for penetration. So he took all of those signs and he said that it means that God has finally healed you. When that guy was dating me, I then noticed that each and every time, whenever he would finish to have intercourse with me, he would wipe me with that cloth that was a soft cloth. It was orange in color. He had this other cloth that was blue in color. But on most occasions, whenever he would have finished having intercourse with me, he would always quickly get out of bed. Then he would rush to where his clothes will be. Then he would take out that cloth. Then he would wipe me. No matter how many times we will do it, if we were to do it maybe 4 times, he used to do it each and every time. He would get out of bed and go and grab that soft that would be in his pockets. Then he would wipe me. After wiping me, he would fold it and place it back in the pockets of his clothes. I grew so tired, and when he saw that I had grown tired because of all these things that were happening to me, I started complaining. One day, he found me crying. I was on the phone and I was calling my mom. I kept telling my mom that I want to come back home. I am tired. I want to come back home. Before I could tell my mom everything that was going on, that is when he grabbed the phone from me. Then he started speaking with my mother, and knowing my mother started worshiping this man. Then that prophet asked my mom, what is it that she prays to God about each and every time? My mom said that I have been praying for a very long time. I have been asking God if he will be kind enough to help me to start a business, because I don't have anywhere to get capital to start the business that I want to do. Then that prophet said, do not worry. That is the reason why your daughter has been crying, because God has answered your prayer. God has answered your prayer, and I know that he is going to raise a man who is going to give you all the money that you want to start your business. He then asked my mom how much she needed. When my mom told him the figure, within a few weeks, I received this call from my mom. My mom then told me that she had received a mysterious call from this person who claimed that in a vision, she saw my mom, and I was also in that vision, but I was in another place, as if I was walking in a wilderness and I was crying. Then that person spoke with my mom. That stranger then said, God spoke with me, and God has told me to give you such an amount of money so that you can do whatever you want. Right now, my brother, I know that even if I try to tell my mother everything that has happened to me, because finally that prophet then released me from his service. He now has another younger personal assistant that he is working with. One day, it was on a Sunday, I was just sitting where I used to sit with the hosting team. When he was preaching, he suddenly pointed a finger at me. Then he said, "My daughter, can you please stand up on your feet, because here you are God's testimony." And as he was preaching, he said that God had cured me. I was once a lesbian, but I am no longer a lesbian. And everyone in church started to rejoice. Before I could respond, I felt someone that had grabbed my hand. When I looked, it was one of the hosting team. Then they ushered me out of the church because they said that I had to be delivered some more. I was taken into another tent where most of the deliverance take place. When I went there, a lot of people started praying for me, and I didn't know how to react. But people just said, "She is happy." This is what happens when God has blessed you. You won't even know how to react. That prophet then told the whole church that he was going to pledge a lot of money because I was going to travel back to my country. He called one of the hosting team. Then that person who was called by the prophet to the front to the pulpit, I saw that in her hands she was holding a large envelope. I was also called to the front of the church. Then the prophet told me that he wanted to give me all of this money. So with everything that this prophet did for my parents, and with the money that I returned back with when I came back from that country, I know that if I tell my mom everything that happened, she would just say I am someone who doesn't appreciate, because this prophet, he used to call my mom a lot, but now he just stopped calling my mom. And my mom worships this prophet. Whenever he will be on his channel doing all of the live teachings, my mom will be like worshiping that prophet. And I feel that I was used by this fake pastor, because he would always have sexual intercourse with me before each and every church service. And about that dirty towel that I spoke about, what I noticed is that that yellow one that he used to bring whenever I would have booked in the hotel or in the guest house, I noticed that whenever he would be at church, that was the same cloth that he used to wipe his face with whenever he would be preaching. Even when he would be praying for people, he used to wipe his face. He used to wipe his face a lot with that towel. I know that I don't have the financial resources or the power to expose this man, but this is what I went through when I was working for that fake prophet. Dear listeners, right there was a message that I received from one of our listeners. That is a sad story, quite a sad story. Please let us speak with her in the comment section. The painful part about her story, she is saying that I do not have the power, neither do I have the financial resources to expose this man. Meaning that if she tried to expose this man, the man will hurt her and will hurt her family, financially, maybe physically. But please, let us try to learn from this story. Trust no one in this world that we are living in.